So welcome to our second of 3 webinars to walk you through the ins and outs of using iNaturalist Canada to record and identify what you find in wetland habitats for this year's CNC. I would like to start by acknowledging with immense gratitude the land on which the Canadian Wildlife Federation is located and where we live, work, and play is the traditional unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe people. The Algonquin people have inhabited and cared for these lands long before today, and we take this time to be grateful for their care and show our gratitude and respect to them and to the land that it provides us. So my name is Acacia Frempong Manso, and I am the iNaturalist Engagements Coordinator, and I'll introduce James.
Thanks, Acacia. I'm James Paget. I'm Species at Risk and Biodiversity Specialist at CWF and also work on community science stuff here.
So this webinar will be recorded and available on CWF's website. We had a webinar yesterday that is also available to be reviewed right now. The easiest way to find this is to Google CWF webinars, and there you'll find the recordings of past webinars as well as announcements for upcoming webinars. We do have our final webinar happening on April 22nd at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And again, this presentation is to provide everyone with an overview of iNaturalist Canada, City Nature Challenge, as well as how to make observations in wetland habitats. And this can be hopefully useful for both beginners as well as experienced iNat users. So just to go over some quick housekeeping rules, if you are having any technical issues, please reach out to me in the chat and I can do my best to resolve them. If the issues persist, often leaving and rejoining can correct things. If for some reason we get cut off, please rejoin us using the same link that you registered with. If time permits at the end, we will do a short Q&A and I will compile all those questions, but I'll also be doing my best to answer questions as we go. And for individuals who are hearing impaired, click the live transcription at the bottom of the screen to show subtitles. So quickly, I just want to mention what the Canadian Wildlife Federation does and some of the programming that we have. So CWF is one of the largest conservation organizations undertaking projects and conservation across the country. Our mission is to conserve and inspire conservation of Canada's wildlife and habitat, and we do this in a number of ways. One is through engaging the public in youth and citizen science, like iNaturalist Canada, education programs like Wild Outside and the Canadian Conservation Corps, and we also engage in specific projects in freshwaters, marine, terrestrial environments, many of which target species at risk like the right whale, the Blanding's turtle, and at-risk bats and the monarch butterfly. And CWF is leading the national push for the City Nature Challenge in Canada, as you'll learn more about. At its core, iNaturalist is a community. It is all about people who contribute observations, identifications, and feedback to each other and to the creators of the platform. This can all be done using the iNaturalist app or at iNaturalist.ca, with over 13 million observations being made here in Canada and of nearly 40,000 different species. The map is showing the concentration of where those observations are being made. This information is accessible for conservation decisions as well as education, where people can learn more about what species are found around them. Our Canadian observations all feed into the global iNaturalist platform that encompasses 20 countries, each with their own iteration translated into their local languages. So as mentioned before, iNaturalist Canada is run and managed by the Canadian Wildlife Federation, but we do so with the support from key partners such as NatureServe Canada and Parks Canada. So started in 2016 as a competition between Los Angeles and San Francisco, the City Nature Challenge has grown into an international event, motivating people around the world to find and document wildlife in their own cities. Last year, over 440 cities took part, including 40 from Canada. This year, there are over 600 cities that will be participating. The City Nature Challenge is run by the community science team at the California Academy of Sciences and the Natural History Museum of Los Angeles County. The City Nature Challenge is an annual 4-day global BioBlitz at the end of April, where cities are in collaboration meets friendly competition to see what can be accomplished when we all work towards a common goal. But it takes everyday people to contribute, not just experts. Observations recorded using the iNaturalist app or online within participating cities are automatically added to the city, the Canada, and the global total. So there are two parts to the City Nature Challenge. The first part this year is happening from April 26th to April 29th, which is the recording period. This is a big push to get people out recording observations using iNaturalist, either on the app or online. Again, all observations recorded within the city will automatically be included in the project. So all you have to do is snap and upload photos during this time. From April 30th to May 5th, people can finish uploading their observations, and this is a key period for identifying what other people around you have recorded. As I mentioned, it takes everyday people to contribute, not just experts. So observations recorded using the iNaturalist app or online from participating cities will automatically be added to the city, the Canada, and the global total. While we understand that the timing isn't ideal for us here in Canada, CWF is leading the Canada-specific City Nature Challenge push within the global one to level the playing field and have a friendly national competition between our Canadian cities. And once it's underway, it's best if you could join this City Nature Challenge Canada project so you can see all the observations coming in real time, and you can see what cities are battling for the top spot. It's not required to join for your observations to count, but it's a really great way to keep updated as we post messages in the projects, and you can be notified about that. So for people who are not in a participating city, you can check out the global project to capture your observations. This is also featured at the top of the iNaturalist.ca/projects. When you go to look at the projects you want to join, you will have to join this project for your observations to count, but please be mindful that you shouldn't be joining this project if you are going to be making observations within a city that is already participating. So today's webinar is about wetland habitats. And today I quickly just want to run through the importance of wetlands as well as characteristics before I hand things over to James. So wetlands are vital for ecosystem services. They provide habitat to a diverse array of plants and animals, and they are essential for water purification, flood control, and climate regulation. So what exactly makes a wetland a wetland? Wetlands consist of waterlogged soils with water either present at or near the surface of the area. Again, they support a diverse array of plants and animals that are specifically adapted to wet conditions. And the most important feature is they act as a natural filter, trapping pollutants and sediments in the water, and they play a crucial role in mitigating floods as well as erosions. So now I'm going to hand things off to James, where he is going to teach us how we can take observations and what we can look for when we are in a wetland habitat.
Great. Thanks, Casey. Yeah, so I'm going to go through once we get into a wetland or a wetland habitat, how we can use iNaturalist to contribute to the City Nature Challenge. So we're going to do this in a bit of a virtual walkthrough. So we're going to go into a great place to start off is Google Maps, where we can look for a wetland, like where are we going to go within a city, where are we going to find these kind of wetland habitats and features, because they're going to have different species than you would find in your upland areas and then right down in your urban centers. So Google Maps, and especially the satellite view, is a great place to start. And we can see right away, obviously, these dark places, this Ottawa River, but there's also little smaller wetlands right within the city. We have Dow's Lake, which is not that small, but part of the Rideau Canal. And we have within that kind of some more naturalized areas here that are more kind of naturalist wetlands, and often they have walking trails around the outside of these. So what I'm going to do is we're going to pan over to a spot here in Ottawa, which is called Mer Bleu Bog. And
James, I don't believe you are sharing your screen.
oh yeah, great. Thanks, Acacia. Let me fix that. And let's get back here. All right, there we go. Here's Mer Bleu Bog. You got that, Acacia?
Yep, you are all good. We can see now.
Okay, so just quickly recap, there's a lot of wetlands right in and around the city where you can see in Google Earth view, which is great. You can zoom in to local neighborhoods and see some of these kind of more naturalized wet areas like around Dow's Lake and some of the other areas that are naturally more natural wetland areas. So back to Merbleu Bog. I'm going to do a bit of a walkthrough with Google Street View, which is nice because it's been mapped already. And we'll start here at the beginning of as we're getting into the area of Mer Bleu. Now, this is great. I like this imagery because it's actually how it looks right now in a lot of places around City Nature Challenge. We don't have leaves on the trees. So this is a good kind of example here. People, if you have your screen settings, it might be good to brighten them because this is kind of a gloomy day, which is fitting. But some of the imagery might be a little bit dark, so you might want to turn the brightness of your screen up as much as possible. But as we get to the wetland, we'll notice a few things, right? Before we even get into the wetland habitat, we have this upland area around the wetland. So there's a lot of species that we can observe even before we get down into the wet areas. So you can tune in on Monday where I'm going to walk through kind of these upland and forested areas. So I won't get into that right now, but Monday you can tune in again and we'll go through a bit more of a forest type settings. But as we get here, there's a lot of other species we can be looking at before we get to the wetlands. We can look at woody debris and logs like this that can be rolled over to look for salamanders underneath, beetles, worms, snakes sometimes. Just definitely be sure if you're going to do this very carefully, that you unroll the log to not harm the individual underneath, and always put it back, and again, very gently, so you're not harming anything, and that you're leaving the habitat intact for the species that was underneath it. So we're going to walk down into the wetland here, and first thing we're going to notice, as I said, it's springtime here, so there's not a lot out yet, but the shoreline vegetation is still noticeable, even though it hasn't fully kind of come out in its full greenery. So we're going to take our first observation right here, and we'll see that we open the iNaturalist app. So the first thing you're going to see when you open your app, if you have an account already and if you have observations, is you're going to see your list of observations. If you don't have any yet, it'll look blank, but you do need to have an account to be able to upload an observation. So the first time you open it, it will look like this, and this is kind of your observation page. We're going to tap the plus button to bring up this screen that allows you to take a photo. This is going to bring up your camera. Now here we're looking through the camera of your phone into the wetland. This is an okay photo, but not really great. We can see that there's cattail right here, but it's basically kind of a wide open landscape of all this kind of marsh habitat. So something like this is much better, where you can focus in, get a real photo of the cattail head, and be able to take a better photo. So you can tap the green or the circle here, the white circle. If you're happy with your photo, you can tap the check mark. If you want to take a better photo, you can tap this back button to go back to your camera and then choose and take a different photo. So once we've got our photo, we tap our check and it brings us to our observation page. You'll notice that the date and location is automatically set. If for some reason it's not showing up, check the settings on your phone, not the app settings, but the settings of your phone itself, and make sure that you've given iNaturalist access to the location of your location services in your phone. I'm realizing you're probably seeing me twice here. There we go. Now, the other thing to have a look at is the accuracy. This accuracy shows 7, that's meters. When you first start taking your observation, it will look like a large number, and then it kind of hones in exactly where you are. So be sure to keep an eye on that and make sure you've got a decent location for accuracy. The other thing you'll notice is the location visibility. It's defaulted to be open. That means once you upload your observation, it will be mapped on iNaturalist for anybody to be able to see exactly where that is. If you tap on this, which I don't have a screenshot of, but if you tap on it, it will give you options for obscured and private. Obscured will put this observation in a kind of random location to show that it's in a buffer around it, about 15 by 20 kilometers, so that it kind of obscures exactly where you were. So people, maybe you want to use this if you're taking observations at your house, or a property where you don't want the location exactly to be known. That other option is private, which doesn't really allow a lot of use for the observation. That means nobody can see it on iNaturalist. It won't show up on a search. It's okay for you to be able to have and to document your own information, but it can't be used for conservation. And that's the goal of this, is to be able to use the information as much as possible to be used for conservation and conservation decisions, because this data becomes accessible for that. We'll also notice this if it's captive or cultivated. That's if it's a species that's planted or intentionally put there. This doesn't include escapees or like invasive species. Those would not be captive or cultivated. And the other option is to add it to a project. We don't have to in this case, because as the case yet said, all observations are going to be automatically added. So more than one photo is often good for an observation. So we're going to tap this photo button at the top left and give us an option to take another photo. Now here I'm zooming in to capture the leaves and stem of the cattail here. Zoomed in, I know it's not super good to really get those features, but it's zoomed in. It's a good way to allow other people to help identify this. We're going to tap the check, and we have both of those photos up here in this observation now. So we're going to tap to figure out what it is that this species is. And we can see it's pretty certain that it's in the cattails, which we know of. You also, up until now, everything that has been done in the app can be done offline. So taking the photo, the location, the date, but this image recognition software that's showing the suggested species nearby, this needs an internet connection. And I'll talk to you in a bit about a workaround you can do that when you don't have data on your device, or don't want to use your data on the data plan that you have. So this suggests the species based on the image, but also on the location of species that are seen nearby. And now here you can also swipe between the photos at the top. This is giving you a suggestion based on this photo, but if we want to swipe across, we can see what the suggestions are based on the next photo that you took as well, which is helpful to see additional suggestions, or see if both photos give you the same species suggestion. So we're going to do that and see what this gives us for this leaves of this cattail. And notice how the wording is changing. Saying now it's not confident enough to make a recommendation, whereas before it's saying it's pretty sure it's in this genus, and then gives you the top suggestions, which is either narrow-leaved or broad-leaved cattail. And this is where that extra photo might help for the image recognition software. Might not get this one, but people in the community that are on, there's thousands of people that help identify observations. They might need a photo like this to be able to tell the difference between a broadleaf versus a narrow-leaf cattail. We are pretty certain that this is not a marsh wren. I think the image recognition software is suggesting this because this is the habitat and the type of picture that people might be getting of these kind of marsh birds. What we can do here, which is a great feature, is to click on the filters and scroll down and choose just plants, because we know this is a plant. You check the checkbox, and now this is only showing plant species that are similar and seen nearby. Still not great. It's not suggesting cattails in the very top ones, but it's understandable given the photo. But it's not showing here, but if we scroll down, cattails do show up further down on this list. So we are going to start writing in the word cattail because we know that's what it is. And we want to tap on the name that comes up, because that way iNaturalist will kind of tag this as an officially recognized name and species. So we'll have to tap on that, cattails, and we have it there now as our observation. We're going to tap the check mark here, and it puts us into this list of observations waiting to be uploaded for to your account in iNaturalist. Now this is kind of a holding pattern now, and I've got my phone set to this, but I think by default it's not set this way. So your observation may automatically get uploaded for people to see. I prefer not to, so that I can basically wait and use my cell data to upload when I get back to Wi-Fi. So I'm not using my internet or my cell data on my phone. But I also like to check my observations before uploading them myself. It also allows me to take a bit more advantage of my time in the field so that I can just kind of take that photo, that observation, and move on without writing in and figuring out the species right there on the spot. So we're going to tap these three arrows at the top left. We can scroll down to the settings and make sure the automatic upload is unchecked, which will then keep it in this holding pattern like I was saying. We're going to tap the menu again, these three bars, and then tap our name or the observations anywhere here. Will bring us back to our main screen. Okay, so we're going to continue on and go back to our wetland habitat. And we'll notice as we go, we have, we're into the graminoids, the cattails, but as we get more into the deeper parts of the wetland, we're going to see some open water up in the distance. The other thing we're going to notice in a lot of wetlands is you may have to turn the volume up on your computer to hear this, but we'll notice a lot of birds calling, but also a lot of frogs. So if you can hear that, we've got a spring peeper calling in the background here. So this is also a really valuable iNaturalist observation. So again, we're going to pull out our iNaturalist app and tap the plus, but this time we're going to record a sound. This opens up the sound recording on your phone. You're going to tap the recording button to allow it to record. And of course, especially frogs, once you get closer to them, they get a little spooked and they'll often stop calling. So if you wait a minute, they'll start up again. So you can tap the pause button to pause your recording and then untap it to continue your recording. When you've got a few seconds and a good amount of recording, that it's going to be a good clear sound for someone to help to be able to identify, then you can tap the save button. And just like with photos, it brings you back to this screen and we see we have a recording file here at the top instead of a photo. Now there's no sound auto identification. So this is going to have to be one that you write in for yourself as well. If you can, although spring peepers are about the size of a loonie, so it's pretty difficult to get a photo of, but if you can also tap the photo button and add a photo the same way we just did with the cattails. It's really good to do, and if nothing more than just kind of remember where you were and get a photo, up close photo of the kind of the habitat as much as possible to just to kind of jog your own memory as well. That also can be valuable. So we're going to tap the what did you see? And as I said, there's no image recognition software. So we're going to start typing in spring peeper and then tap on the option that comes up. You can also add notes in here as to where you found it, as to how many were calling. Was it a loud call? Was it just one maybe calling? That's also valuable to know. And we're going to tap the check mark here. So we're going to go back into our wetland and have another look around. We're going to continue on. As I mentioned, we're getting towards the open water habitat. Now, there's open areas. We're going to see potentially different species. This is a great spot for turtles basking. Also, snakes will bask. Water snakes will be out on these kind of areas as well, just like turtles. These kind of areas like around here that are raised up out of the water to capture the heat from the sun, especially when it's the springtime and the water temperature is cold, but the air temperature and the sun is getting warm. They'll be out basking to thermal regulate. Good way to look is search all these kind of stumps and rocks and hummocks that are sticking out of the water and looking for like kind of shiny spots where the sun catches those, and you'll be able to kind of see the shine of the turtle as they're basking. Binoculars are definitely a good thing to bring with you. It makes it way easier to be able to spot a turtle, especially in the distance. And so that's definitely something to bring along, as well as a digital camera, which I'll mention again in a second. So say we've got a turtle we see basking on this hummock. Again, we're going to open our app and tap the plus, take a photo, and this is been about as good as we can get with a cell phone photo. There is a turtle here. It's right up on that log, but that's often all we can get. I've attempted as well to take a picture through a binocular with limited success. So a digital camera with a zoom is obviously way better to be able to capture this photo. But say this is all we've got, the best of our ability. We're going to take this photo, we tap the check, and again, we're going to see that it's uploaded to our observation page. And I'm going to leave it at that this time. and I'll show you how to upload the identification after the fact, or add the identification after the fact. Now, let's say we do have a digital camera with us that does have a zoom, which is something I do always bring when I'm going out planning on making observations. We're much better to get a photo that looks like this than what we had before. So we'll bring in our digital camera, take our picture, and we save that on our camera, and then we can go back after the fact and add this to that same observation we just made. Some time has passed. Say we're back at home, we've gotten out of the field, dried off maybe, and we're connected to Wi-Fi. So you also have had to upload your photo from your digital camera into somewhere that your phone can access. So like Google Photos, or however you move photos from your camera onto your computer, and you can move that onto your cell phone. Some devices can actually Bluetooth directly to your camera. So if you do that, you actually do this right in the field, but then it slows you down. You have to take a time away from your exploring. But what you're going to do is we're going to tap on this unknown species because we uploaded it without identifying it. Now notice this is still waiting to upload. So it's actually not uploaded. It's kind of sitting on your phone still. So it brings us to this observation page. It still shows unknown species. We're going to tap the edit button here, and brings us to the page or the screen that we've been seeing all along here. We're going to tap the camera button, but in this time, we're going to choose an image as opposed to taking a photo. And then you'll want to navigate to where you store your photos. If you had Google Photos, you can tap there and it brings you to your Google Photos or your File Explorer. Select the photo that you took with your digital camera, tap done, and now we have both photos up here now in our observation. Now you notice these are uploaded, these are in order of when they were taken. So this is the first photo that people are going to see, this kind of shrubby, unidentifiable turtle that people are going to see, but also the image recognition software is going to identify first. So what you want to do is tap your better photo, which brings you to this kind of a page. You tap these three dots and you can tap to make this one first. And now they've switched order and the image recognition software is now going to first, when you tap what did you see, work to identify that first one. Now it says we're pretty sure in this genus, pretty sure it's painted turtle. You can also tap to include suggestions not seen nearby, which is good for kind of out of range species. Maybe someone hasn't observed this kind of a species nearby yet. And in fact, actually, when I do tap this one, nothing happens. So this is still showing the top suggestion, whether species seen nearby or not. So we're going to select painted turtle. Remember, we have internet connection now because we're back at our Wi-Fi. And it shows up here. We can tap our check mark. Painted turtle is now labeled there. We tap the arrow back, and we're back to our observation page that we can now have all our identifications here. When we're ready to submit them, we tap the upload button, and they will go sync up with our iNaturalist account, both on the website and on the app. There is a way to add photos after the fact and upload just walking through taking pictures with a digital camera. That's a bit quicker. If you're not using the app, you can just snap photos with your camera, but you're going to need to remember exactly where you were and where you took that picture from. And there's a way to drag and drop those on the website. And we have a whole how-to guided video tutorial on how to add observations on the website. So that's something you can check out as well. Okay, so as we go through, we have different habitats. We're going to wrap up as we kind of do a last little look through our, got turned around here, happens in wetlands. As we walk through the habitat, we're going to notice, as I said, these are kind of grassy graminoid areas with cattails. As we get closer to the shoreline, we're going to see more shrubby plants, shrubs starting, and then we have the tree line. So we're going to see different species in these different habitats. As we get through, we can see there's conifer trees, which are great for this time of year. Birch trees, which are pretty noticeable as well. And in wetlands, there's definitely a lot of lichens, like growing on this tree. There's a ton of lichens, and obviously you'll need a better zoomed in photo than that. We'll also have a lot of insects flying around, mosquitoes for one, that you'll be happy about. But dragonflies, butterflies, moths, for these, you're going to need to be a little bit patient, and a digital camera with a zoom definitely helps, but they'll often land eventually that you can get a good photo. And it's a good idea to take progressively closer photos as you get a bit closer, so that you don't spook it and have it fly away before you be able to get that, really in close shot. So, be patient with those and try and get those progressively closer photos is definitely a good way to approach those. And so to recap, I want to leave with this page as I just kind of wrap up, just to think about leaving all of the area, minimizing our impact on the places that we explore and the species that we are observing. And I'm not going to run through all this, but just to leave it there to look as I kind of wrap this up. So there can be a lot of biodiversity in and around wetlands. So don't forget about the wetland edges, the different spaces within wetlands, and what species are going to be there. Keep an eye and an ear out for birds, obviously, because you can see how many different sounds and calls you can record for different things. There are many different wetland species of plants, and you may have to get really close for some of them. There's a lot of trailing plants that might be around on the ground. Different mosses, there's sphagnum in bogs, there's different species of moss. So you want to look at those kind of ones that look a little bit different, even if you don't know what they are. Remnants from past years, as I showed that cattail example, like flower stalks, if they can be identified, all those things count and can be captured with a photo or sound. And the better your photo or the clearer your sound, the better, the more likely that the image recognition software and the iNaturalist community can help identify what that is. And with that, we're right at 12:30. We can do one quick question if we have time to run through.
Yeah, I've been answering all the questions in the Q&A, so there's only one question in the chat. And someone wants to know, is capturing species through the Seek app and then uploading to iNaturalist acceptable?
Yes, good question. Yes, the Seek app has the advantage of the image recognition software being offline, but it's not as good as iNaturalist. It doesn't often get the species right. But yes, if you sign into your iNaturalist account through Seek, you'd have to sign into your account, and then once you upload them in Seek, it will go into iNaturalist and be counting towards the City Nature Challenge.
All right, well, that's all the time we have for questions. Thank you everyone for joining us, and tune in on Monday, April 22nd at 12 p.m. if you're interested in learning more about forest habitats and how to make observations there.
Great. Thank you everyone for your time, and yeah, you can keep an eye out for the recording to re-listen if I ran through things a little too quickly. So happy exploring, and hope everyone gets out for the City Nature Challenge, which yeah,
Bye
starts in
everyone.
exactly 1 week.